Okay, Travis Wayne Goodsell. I'm going to try something different this time around. I'm getting a minimal amount of attention on my Mormon issues videos, and I want to completely decimate the LDS Church. I've already done it in my mind and through my research, but I want it physically decimated. And the only way to do that is to convince Mormons to leave the church. But of course, they're being paranoid and being full of fear by staying away from my videos. Even the thumbs down guy is staying away. So what I would like is assistance from every single ex-Mormon, those of you who have left the Mormon Church, and for whatever reason. And I want you to please comment which of the issues you left the church for. I will go over my list. That's, let's see, 7 times 4 is 28, 29, 30. I have 30 that I've come up with so far. If you have another one that I don't list, please put it in the comments. So I want this to be huge. So I know there are millions of you who have left the church. And so I want to find out what is your reason for leaving. And all you have to do is just make a comment and say what the title is. If you want to go into more detail, that's fine. You can do that too. But I want interaction here. I want to know why and which one. And hopefully it'll attract the attention of Mormons by doing this, so that Mormons can then watch this video and find out what all the hubbub is about. And so I'm going to title the video LDS Mormon Church has been destroyed. Maybe put breaking news in front of it. Who knows? We'll figure it out when I finish. But I don't want to make this long. Please, for whatever reason you've left, please comment. And we'll try to get the views up as high as we can get them. And if you're not Mormon, please comment as to why you're not wanting to join the church. If it's one of these issues, great. If it's something else, even if it's, well, I'm born again Christian, I'm born a Catholic, I'll die Catholic, that's fine too. Please put that in here. So as many people as we can get, let's comment. Let's get millions of views, millions of comments. That would be great. I'm not going to get paid for this because YouTube has rearranged things, and I've never complied to whatever it is that they're wanting. So don't worry about me trying to make money off of this. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to make any money. You know, I've got 12,000 on my LDS Latter-day Signs video, and I still haven't seen a penny. Whatever they're doing to do it, I guess it's through advertising. I never get advertisers, so don't worry if you're thinking this is some kind of a scam for me to make money. So even if you're Mormon and you watch this and you say, hey, wait a minute, that's going on, I'm out of here then. Please comment, let us know which issue is convincing you to leave. Okay, so is that clear to everybody? Comment. And I want to hear the comments. I don't want to hear ad hominems. You know, we all know the church is bad, so you don't need to tell us that. Tell us the specific reason. And if it's racism, sexism, polygamy, segregation, whichever one, just say that. You don't need to, use inappropriate language for YouTube or ad hominem, because you haven't done your research. So please let us know what it is. All right, so I have corruption, complicity. That has to do with members of the church being so fanatically devoted that they allow crimes to be committed within the church. This goes for the lawyers for the church. This goes for the accountants for the church. These are people who know but are not whistleblowing. This is complicity. And members at the local levels. I have a neighbor who fell in a chapel or the cultural hall and hurt herself, but never could sue the church because it's the church and she has no choice but to rely on the church. But she's always held the grudge. So that's corruption, complicity. Extortion is another one. The church extorts from us, not just religious extortion, which is a different one, but they do it through, in Utah, it's very prevalent. If you're Mormon, you're able to get Mormon jobs. If you're Mormon, you don't get non-Mormon jobs. You have to work on Sunday at non-Mormon jobs. And there's that extortion that goes on in order to be a member, in order to get benefits. Mormons against Mormons. The church, in the way they present the doctrine, the way they present the gospel even, turns Mormons against Mormons, as Mormons get this self-righteous attitude of judging other people according to their interpretation of Mormon doctrine, and that creates contention. Mormons against Mormons. Separating families. The church talks all over the place about families, doing things as families, being families, and yes, they're anti-gay families, but it's a big thing in the church to tout families. Families can be together forever, and yet the practice is separating families. They had the abortion, or they are against abortion. They had the adoption clinic until gay marriage was about to be approved, and so they needed to get out of that so that they couldn't be forced to adopt babies to gay couples, and they punish fathers who don't make more than a regular full-time job, so that they can take care of a wife and a family at a prosperous living. They separate those families. You have to be rich in order to be accepted. Not condemning government. Trump is now implicated in 2 felonies already. There's many more to come. And Nelson is not stepping up to the pulpit or to the press and denouncing Trump for his wickedness as a leader of the nation. King David was chastised by the prophet Nathan. Where is Nelson? Latter-day fraud. The church revealed, or it was leaked, that the church believes that the latter-day prophecies in the book of Revelations by Jesus himself of the sun, moon, and stars are predictions that should be avoided and disregarded. In that video, I have the picture of the chart that indicated that. They call them predictions rather than prophecies. And so the leaders of the church, even though the Mormons are called Latter-day Saints, they do not believe that we are in the latter days and that the prophecies are going to come to pass. And so they're not preparing the Mormons for the end of the world. They're not preparing Mormons. They're not warning them of the dangers of Trump and the dangers that are happening around us. They're just not doing it. They're not even talking about the signs that the prophets have prophesied about that have occurred. And then polygamy. But then the next one that immediately follows is that the church is blaming Joseph Smith rather than saying, okay, yeah, it was Brigham Young, it wasn't Joseph. They're doing that specifically to assure that they can continue to operate. If it were found out that the church originally did not practice polygamy, they would have to denounce Brigham Young. They've already denounced him for his Adam God theory. That's a different one that'll be coming up here, altering of doctrine. So that's actually theology altering. But I don't think I have that one, so I need to put that one in there. Altering theology, the Adam God theory. Racism, there are black Mormons who still embrace the Mormon Church, but you don't need to. You don't need to stay because the Book of Mormon denounces racism, as one other Mormon I commented on earlier yesterday, I think it was. He hasn't responded, but it would be nice if we can convince him too that the church still is racist. Never will a black man become a prophet or apostle. They're in the first quorum of 70. They have token black men throughout the generations, but never in the apostleship. Ain't gonna happen. Segregation. The church segregates. It's blatantly obvious here in Utah because you have Spanish wards, the Genesis group for blacks, you have the deaf wards, singles wards, and you have a division between rich and poor, just because Utah purposely segregates rich from poor based on the housing situation. The rich communities refuse to allow poor buildings or shelters, and so segregation is part of the church by a result of the Mormons here in Utah segregating rich and poor. Sexism. Women will never again hold the priesthood. Joseph Smith gave it to them. Brigham Young took it away. Yes, you get to utilize it in the temple, but once you leave the temple, it's gone. Technically not. You do have powers because you are anointed in the temple. But the brethren will never give you a position of authority. Child abuse. Oh, well, also along with sexism, that's why you're demeaned. That you are to stay at home and have babies. And those types of things. You're not encouraged to get an education, or go on missions. You're supposed to have the view of getting married as a top priority. That needs to change altogether, and that's our society's fault. But the church helps encourage that condition. Child abuse. The Protect LDS Children has done great to change the way children are interviewed by bishops, but that's not enough. We have to get into the minds of the parents, because a parent who believes that the bishop is perfectly acceptable in talking about sexual matters to children, they need to change their minds too. And so we need to do more to protect children. illegitimate succession. As I've already indicated, Brigham Young did not have authority to succeed Joseph Smith. There were many others who were better qualified than Brigham Young, but Brigham Young won out and became the dominant one. Murder. Brigham Young, as an illegitimate successor, was involved in numerous murders or orchestrating of murders. Murderers are cowards. They have other people do their work for them. And Brigham Young was a coward, having others do the murdering. It happened when they were out east with the neighbors, causing the Mormon War. It was involved with the murder of Joseph and Hiram Smith. He was involved in the murder of the pioneer saints going west. Those who followed him, he had them murdered by sending them in the wintertime. The Mountain Meadows Massacre, that was him ordering the bishop. The church has finally admitted that the bishop was guilty, but they wouldn't go so far as to implicate Brigham Young. But he was involved. The Ute Indians also were murdered by Brigham Young, and they built a fort down in Utah County. And then Mormons who made it to Utah, well, Deseret first, but Brigham Young not only had the death penalty for Mormons, he also had Mormons covenant to kill themselves if they violated the Mormon laws that he was creating. So murder is a big one. That's the one that I would be putting down in the comments section. Because when I found out all about that, no, I don't want to go back ever. Murder is my line that he crossed. Neglecting the poor. The church is making multi-billions of dollars. They just got caught laundering money this year in the stock market through LLC companies. Just like Trump has gotten caught through that process. And he's been charged with the felony count of laundering money to pay off women to be silenced. And the church is doing this to make money all by themselves. They have other non-disclosure agreements in other ways. So that could be another one that the church is doing, that they're forcing people to be silent. So I've had 2 extras here, and I'm not writing them down. Lies and deceptions. The church has lied about their history. And even with the gospel topic essays, they're still continuing to lie. They're revealing that they're lying, but they're lying about what they claim is the actual truth. They're still not getting it right. They're still lying to us. The polygamy one, for example, they are lying that the church actually did practice polygamy, but they're saying that Joseph Smith was the one responsible, and that's a lie. It was Brigham Young who did it. And so the church is deceiving their members. Threats. The church makes threats to people. They sue those who are critical of the church. They've tried to go after Mormon leaks. They've gone after Gerald and Sandra Tanner. This is unacceptable for a church. The church has no secrets. So there's nothing that, there's no fear needed on the part of the church about people leaking information. You know, it's something they want to have happen. Church found out that Jesus had visited the prophet. You know, that would be a great thing for the church. But because the church is committing crimes, which is another, fraud and crime, which is another one, they have to cover things up. And in order to cover things up, they have to make threats to people. So yeah, this is a huge deal, people. I hope you understand. And if you've left the church and you're not aware of some of these other things, I hope I'll eventually get to them in other single videos, but I need to get through all these because we're at 20 minutes right now. And so altering doctrine is another one. Faith, for example. Mormons have changed their definition of faith from the Book of Mormon to now be the Christian faith, where you have faith that equals truth, equals knowledge. And everybody who's rational knows that you can't just believe whatever you want. You can't believe that God will miraculously pay your bills and then not pay your bills, and guess what? You're going to have debt collectors coming after you. So you can't just believe that God will magically take care of things or other types of faith situations. Doesn't matter how much you have warm, fuzzy feelings, faith is dead, according to James, the book of James. And Mormons know this, but they're not getting it. They're allowing the altered doctrine to change their whole thinking. The Church of Lucifer. The Book of Mormon goes into great detail to describe the conditions in Lucifer's church. If Lucifer were to be in charge of a church, and he has been, those that don't follow Jesus are following Lucifer. And Mormons know this. And there are two churches only, the Church of God and the Church of the Devil. And if you're not in the Church of God, you're in the Church of the Devil. And yes, there are many churches of the devil, but it can be summarized into two. You can have no church at all as another option, but they're talking about those who will want to be a part of the church. So Mormons know this. They know what to look for, and they're turning their eyes. They're remaining complicit in some cases. Other cases, they're just ignorant. Hate. We have seen Mormon hate more than ever during Trump because of immigrants. We should be rescuing immigrants, and instead Mormons are commenting on the Deseret News about Trump's claims that they're illegal. They haven't gone to court yet, but already Mormons are saying, hey, they're illegal, they deserve what they get. And if they have to have their family separated, that's their fault for being illegal. They deserve what they get. See, the separation of families again. False blame. The church is falsely blaming those of us who have left the church because of an issue that we had with the church. Not through sin on our case, but because, whatever one of these issues or whatever other one you've come up with as to your line that you drew. The church is turning on us to blame us as the apostates, the antichrists, the evil people, and they've come up with all these other propaganda excuses that we've stopped studying our scriptures, that we've stopped praying, that we stopped going to church. The concept that we don't like any of these issues, such for me, murder, was the reason why I don't want to be a part of the church. No revelation. They have not had any revelation. Brigham Young, you can sort of say he had revelation, but it never happened. But no prophet has come up with an actual revelation. And it's evidenced from their scriptures. The Doctrine and Covenants was intended for future revelations by successive prophets, and they're just not there. Section 138 by Joseph Fielding Smith Sr., that was from his journal. It was not for the church. It was a successive prophet. I think it was his son who became president and said, hey, let's put this in. But that was not a revelation. That was just a dream he had. Brigham Young, his section in the Doctrine and Covenants was just, okay, we're going to Missouri. Or we're leaving Missouri, we're going to Utah. And so he says, okay, we're going to separate the pioneers into camps. That's not revelation. And it's a bad one, as the fruit indicates that many, 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 many pioneers died during the winter time. So yeah, it's a bad revelation. So, and then I think John Taylor had one, but that was only to indicate that we're sad that Joseph Smith had died. That was not a revelation. So yeah, the church has had no revelations because they're not legitimate successors. They have no authority from God, thus they are not receiving revelation from God. It's that simple. Spying. Earlier this year, the Deseret News, run by the church, changed their privacy policy so that they can spy on our hard drives if we make a comment. They said that they're going to hold off on editing comments and rejecting comments, but they say that they want people to be behaved on the comment section. But by allowing them to examine our hard drives, if we're critics of the church and they're looking at our hard drives, not a good thing. They're looking for anything that they can accuse us of so that they can justify treating us as apostates or antichrists or being against the church. And then they tried to pass a law in Utah. I don't think it got passed, but the church wanted the Utah legislature to make it so that when you're on a phone conversation, one party cannot record what the other party is communicating with them about. And that came out after the recording links from people's cell phones in conversations with bishops and in sacrament meetings of people confessing to others' crimes, saying, I've been victimized by Bishop so-and-so, and those types of things. Or even the little girl who claimed that she was gay, and the leaders took the mic away from her. Those prompted the church to want to pass a spying and a banning of recording legislation. Keeping secrets. They're part of the covering up is keeping of secrets, but the church leaders always meet in secret. They have their meetings in secret, and they don't divulge what information is discussed in those meetings. The top leadership does it down to the stake and ward levels. They all keep secrets, and they all claim that it's to help the people that they serve, but the evidence goes to the contrary. And so, yeah, there's nothing that should be kept a secret, especially in church disciplinary councils. There's no reason to keep it a secret. If it's because the church wants them silenced, it's all the more reason to expose it so that the church doesn't do that type of thing, as they did with John Dehlin and others, following bad Book of Mormon examples. Mormons believe in the Book of Mormon. That's their keystone scripture. And yet, Mormons are following the examples of the Antichrists, the false prophets, the bad leaders, the bad people, the Lamanites, the Amalekites, the Zoramites, King Noah, and the Gadianton robbers. But they're not following the good examples of the prophets that are in there. And so they're using the Book of Mormon just as Brigham Young did to be racist. Unsound. Mormons from bottom to the top, and it's because of the top examples that this occurs, but Mormons are not sound in their reasoning. Faith is part of that. Thinking that faith is truth. Believing whatever you want as truth. And nobody can challenge you, and you can maintain whatever you want to believe in. It doesn't work at work if you're in a scientific field or a construction field or any kind of job that requires you to actually know your job. You can't just believe whatever you want. I feel like charging you this much for this item. Why did you, your till is short. Well, I felt like giving them a discount. Well, I'm going to have to let you go. It's that simple. You got to be sound. And you can't just blame God for why you're doing what you're doing. It doesn't work that way. You have to be reasoned and logical. Even with your accusations of those who want to leave the church, you can't attack them verbally and blame them, because those are unsound reasoning. Okay, so Book of Mormon fraud. Those who've done their research knows that the Book of Mormon is not a translation from ancient Egyptian. And yet you still have Mormons who believe, oh, there's chiasmus in the Book of Mormon. That's Hebrew. So therefore the Book of Mormon is true. No. Where in the Book of Mormon does it say it was written in Hebrew? It doesn't. It says Egyptian. So you're being fooled on that, first of all. And then it's not a history of the American Indians. It's not. It doesn't correspond at all. It's also, it's not, it's just wrong. It's not a history. It's not a translation from an Egyptian document. And if you understand church history, you'll understand why, but it's not what it purports to say as has been traditionalized. The Book of Abraham pressure. Egyptologists have said over and over again, Book of Mormon translation of Joseph Smith's is wrong. It doesn't have the name Abraham in it. We can't find it anywhere. And the church has now agreed in their gospel topic essays, the historicity and translation of the Book of Abraham, that the Book of Abraham is not a translation from the papyri, that Joseph Smith just made it up as a spiritual scripture. And I have done research on Egyptian, so I know the Book of Mormon fraud part, and I know that Joseph Smith was actually right about the Book of Abraham, and that is a further lie by the church, blaming Joseph Smith as not translating correctly. So that frustrates me also. Freemasonic temple ritual. The Mormon temple ritual is not God's temple ritual. It needs to be restored. God does not have Freemasonry symbolisms in the temple ritual. Your garments are not to have the square and compass of Freemasonry on them. Those were added by Brigham Young. The whole temple thing was Brigham Young. And so, please, get it right. And social club. Mormons stick with the church as a social network. All my friends and family are in the church. I'm going to stay in the church. That will keep us strong in the gospel of Jesus Christ. keep us strong in the church. No, that's wrong. If it's a club, then treat it as a club. Leave Jesus out of it. And so, yeah, this was longer than I wanted, but if you've got one of these, please comment. If you're not a Mormon, please comment as to why you never want anything to do with the church, which one of these issues. And if you're Mormon and you recognize, hey, wait a minute, they do that, please comment which one it is. And if you want, I can go over it in more detail for you to explain it. I'm going to get to all these eventually, but it takes time. So please comment. Let's get this thing going. Share it with others. Have them come to this video to comment. Get everybody you know here. Let's see if we can do this together. Let's all take down the church. And if we can get Mormons out, the church will have no power. So please, let's all do this together and bring down the church or destroy the church. I mean, they're already setting themselves up to not need members. So if they can lose all their membership, maybe they'll be forced to say, hey, what do we do now? So let's destroy them, shall we?